Let's tap that and make sure the mic's in the right place, shall we, before it all goes tits up. Welcome in. Good evening, or good to see you. I said earlier on in the week that I might try this, and it's popped up, and you know what? I'm going to give it a go. So, my GoPro, literally, just as I went to go live, dropped off. So, hopefully, it stays where it is for the rest of the day. But welcome in. Good to see you all. Hope you're all doing well. The mic seems to be in the right place. You seem to be in the right place. I seem to be in the right place. So let's do this. Good evening to Truther, to Tibbs, Calco, to Wooter. Good to see you, buddy. Long time no see. SMG, Stakaragord, Ashra, Shinobi Trip, Ravenfort, Marcus, Hustlebones, and everybody else. Good to see you in. We're just going to let the stream populate a little bit. I'm not expecting masses of people because basically this was kind of unalerted. We didn't know what time this was going to happen. It's not the same as the others. But we're just going to cycle through a couple of things that have happened since I spoke to you all last. And we'll see where we go from there. Brian Havoc, welcome in. Good to see you. Jurta, good to see you. First time catching you live. Well, welcome in, mate. Good to see you. You're sure in the right place. I prefer a nice warm beach and some good drinks over rainy old Holland. Well, I mean, I have none of the above either. I mean, some good drinks. I mean, I've got a can of Diet Coke, if that helps. But that's about it. Good evening, Emoticon, Jambo Tech. Good to see you all. Citizen Ninja, welcome in. So yes, we'll go through a couple of things. I'll just kind of rapid fire. I don't want to keep you waiting for too long, but just while we let people catch up. Hey, Viper Leo, good to see you. I'm just going to jump across very, very quickly to the things that we've missed. So I'm going to literally spend 5 seconds on this. Blink and you'll miss it. But we have the funding and what happened yesterday. Not huge amounts. By not huge amounts, still 1.7 million. But, you know, the weakest day of IE to boot. I mean, it's not a massive problem, is it? Because they've made a huge amount. And we are ahead of, any previous year as funding goes. That's that. Blink and you'll miss it. I did say that and it's gone. Ta-da! Ta-da! It's gone. Right. Subscriber promotions. Do you know what? Whilst there's parts of this I actually like the design of the t-shirt. I like the holographic banner. There's two bits on here. It's the same thing repeated that I don't like, and it's that this item will be delivered in an upcoming patch, and that this item will be delivered in an upcoming patch. Why not this one? That just strikes me as being massively unorganized and not being ready to go. Other than that, they're fine. Are they worth the money that you pay? I mean, hey, you guys can only kind of say that. So there we go. The other bit that happened, and this was yesterday, was the roadmap roundup. A couple of things added, and again, I mean, I'm going to say I'm not very impressed with this. This by itself doesn't hold any really big surprises. That's what I mean to say. We're getting engineering, fire, and physicalized helmets all in one patch. It's not the patch I'm unhappy with. I'm just saying there's no massive surprises in here. We've got 3 things regarding Wicklow. We've got rebalancing loot at various sandbox locations and introducing previously Wicklow exclusive rewards to the loot pool. Fine. Especially happy that they're looking at adding Wicklow type stuff to the loot pool, although I know that people who have it might not be as happy. We have new Wicklow offerings. We have a rebalance, including what you need to hand in to get those rewards. The RSI Meteor is now being added to contested zones as an executive ship reward. There are new weapons attachments. They added a little bit of detail this. What they did say in the last one was there was going to be a new tactical Volt flashlight. They've now said we're going to get Volt optics with charge heat measurement readings, which is kind of cool. Low zoom Clausen Warner scopes, new barrel attachments with scorched tweaker power levels, and they kind of said that as well. So that's good news. And then they are doing some ship flight tuning stages too. Mirai Fury and variants. X84 or 85X rather. Kruger, both of them. The Archimedes and the Merlin. Mirai Razor with variants. M50, Aegis Avenger variants. Origin 300i series, So including SCM, nav speeds, accelerations, angular speeds, rotations, health points, and racing ship adjustments. If that's your thing. So there we go. And that's really all there was on the roadmap roundup. There's not much in there really about, or there's nothing in there about stuff being taken out. So that's good news. It's just going to be engineering. Look, we're up to 25 people. I think this is as good as we're going to do, and I don't want to keep you guys waiting for the main event. So what I'll try and do is I will try and avoid, like, getting in there and asking questions that are likely going to be answered 1 or 2 sentences later in the video. What I may do is pause it to kind of make some observations that don't involve, I wonder if this is going to happen, I wonder if that's going to happen. So, let's have a look then at Star Citizen Engineering. I'm just going to make sure my levels are at the right place. Let me know if it's too quiet. D-Chippy, welcome in. Camon, welcome in. Hustlebones, I said hello to, didn't I? But yeah, hey, hi again. There you go, you got 2 hellos. It was just your stream, sir. Let me know if the volume levels aren't that great. Let's go.
So we've been talking about engineering in one way or another for several years now, whether that's ISC.
I am really looking forward to see what you all will be doing with it.
Or SCL.
Is Engineer this absolutely enormous behemoth thing that's going to ruin everybody's experience?
Is it quiet? Is it quiet for you guys? Or is it all right? Kind of quiet for me.
Or even 2 different CitizenCon presentations.
We already talked about it several times, but wait, there's one more thing.
When I was dressed up as a late-night television host vampire and dumping sand throughout the LA office without permission.
Don't ever do this again! They're begging me not to continue! But we will show them! Count Disco does not know how to listen!
Yes, it was a different time. But over the years, the systems have continued to evolve, and now, after 7 videos, several Arena Commander and Tech Preview tests, and the current PTU cycle underway now, we've never been closer to bringing the next evolution of spaceflight to life ahead of our intended release. Now, after 7 videos, several Arena Commander and Tech Preview tests, and the current PTU cycle underway now, we've never been closer to bringing the next evolution of spaceflight to life ahead of our intended release later this month. So rather than go through every detail once again of what you're already experiencing on the PTU now, I sat down with Torsten for this short discussion of what I'm calling Inside Star Citizen, Talking with Torsten, the 8th show about engineering before it's been released. And that's why we didn't do another CitizenCon thing this year. All right, we can probably shorten it to just Talking with Torsten. Yeah.
So, right off the bat, it's been a...
I'm just going to say I'm really excited for Torsten, because Torsten has been taking it in the teeth, directly or indirectly, about this feature that he's been trying to get out forever. I just hope it goes well for him.
year since we did that last ISC on engineering. What's the same? What's changed?
We didn't change a lot. What did change is the main direction of the feature itself.
Just the main direction.
We didn't change a lot. We just changed the main direction. What? What?
Just the main direction. Technically, everything that you had in the Arena Commander, everything that we talked about still stands true. So everything that we discussed, all the intentions we had, still stands true. We had before, like, the direction of things have to happen. You have to be on your toes. You have to be very reactive to everything that is happening. We noticed that this is not particularly fun. So
just giving people
Chippy,
something
you
to do is not enough.
You optimist.
Giving people something to do can be really fun, but it pulls too much attention to these rather than of the gameplay that you should experience.
Warning, fire detected.
So the direction that we got was, and we are now acting on, is that engineering gameplay is there to extend the lifetime of the ships rather than making your life miserable on a ship.
I like that. engineering's about extending it, not about shortening things like time to kill and all that sort of stuff. This is my diagnosis bad, Doctor? No, but you are going to die, says the emoticon. Yeah, that.
It's a nice change.
I think it's
Cheers.
it might be worth it, yes.
Let's refresh ourselves on the basics of how it works for people who haven't gone back and watched the 7 previous videos. The first thing is preemptive or preventative stuff, the stuff that happens before things happen. Tell me how you use engineering to prepare your ship.
One of the main things right now that you have to do, or you should do, is prepare for travels. So you should buy fuses ahead of time so that you can replace them once they break on the ship. You should buy enough filled RMC canisters so that you are able to repair the components on site.
Interesting.
So this is like the prep work, the first, hopefully, 5 minutes, if we can make something work.
He's trying to get vendors added to the spaceports so
Yes.
that you know how to run around. We'll see if we end up with that or not. I'll say it, you don't have to say it. Continue.
For bigger ships that allow components to be swapped out in.
Do you know what? That tells me that Torsten plays the game as well as just develops it, right? The thought of adding to spaceports, the major landing zones, that's a good shout. That's absolutely what they need. Thanks, Torsten.
Or in your travels. You can also prepare by buying components and then storing them on the ship so that you can replace them.
So first part of engineering resource network is preparation. In the single seat ships, the fighters and stuff, does this still affect their day-to-day life?
No. So yes, but no. so engineering gameplay affects everything. What engineering gameplay does there is that it extends the lifetime. So imagine you are on your single-seater fighter, you're not doing too well, and you barely survive. Now you can use the MFD to repair the components that allow you to travel back home. So this is the extension of the lifetime of the ship that you invested time in.
And so then for ships with interiors up to the bigger multi-crew ships,
Yes.
the next big change with engineering is a damage to your components.
So on the ships with interior, you will have access to the components. By having access to the components, there's the chance for you to repair on-site or repair while they are taking damage. Normally.
So the bit that I don't understand is why they didn't do exactly the same with the fighters. It just means you get out of your ship and repair it. Maybe they weren't able to bring all the fighters up to scratch in time, but that doesn't make sense to me. This ability to repair through the MFDs, the problem with it being a temporary measure is that people are just going to whinge when they get it taken off. Despite the fact they said temporary measure. For now, you'll be able to do it. The minute they take it off, all the fighter jocks will be... It's going to be miserable. If that's the intention, just do it like that. It's not like it's completely different, right? You're still opening a bay and looking at the component and pulling a repair tool and repairing the thing. You're just doing it in EVA. So I don't understand. That's probably because they ran out of time, says Hustlebones. Possibly, yeah, absolutely. Rusty, welcome in. Good to see you. Let's go.
You would die in the game that is like at 4.4, but with engineering gameplay, you would be able then to point the repair gun at the component, bring it back from 0 health to full health, so you get your power plant back, or you extinguish the fire, repair afterwards, and then you're ready to go. And that scales now with the amount of people that you can fit on your ship.
Does that mean
yes, the next
the end
chapter
of
of
soft
engineering
death, or
is repairing and exchanging of components and potentially exchanging fuses.
And it's not just managing the components, it's managing the relays. How do the relays work?
They changed a little. So if you recall in the early tech preview and even the early Arena Commander mode, relays were like the weak point of any ship. We thought back in the day that this is a really, really good idea. And to a degree, it would be. But with ships where some relays are placed in a very accessible position for getting shot at some point there will be the expert players that will just target those and you will be rendered useless within a blink of an eye, which disagrees with the statement of we have to bump up the TTK here. So relays and fuses are
Good
still
that they're
relevant,
bumping up TTK, I'm pleased.
but if a relay does not hold any fuses anymore, basically the ship cannot support the full amount of power that the power plant would allow you to have. It makes sense to repair or restock the fuses.
But it's not going to stop your coal. It's not going to prevent doors from opening anymore.
Well,
if you don't effectively address the needs of your components and everything, it can now generate a new hazard for the interiors of spaceships: fire.
Warning, fire detected.
So
I
fire
really
can
hope it
happen in
sounds like
several
that.
ways in our game. So one aspect is exterior induced damage to your ship that can cause a fire. Components will trigger fire based on hits from bullets. So energy weapons are right now the most effective one in setting interiors on fire if they hit the components on the interior, versus ballistics, they have a very small chance of igniting the components. And the next big thing
I like that balance, because one thing that's been gradually truer more and more and more is that ballistics outperform the energy-based weapons that are just lasers, right? There's no upside to using them. Worse with shields, although okay, they burn through shields quicker, but you're still getting shots on the hull with ballistics, whereas you aren't with energy weapons. They're less effective against armor. So what's the upside of using them other than the fact that you don't need to restock them? And actually, a higher chance of causing a fire. It doesn't redress the balance, but it's pushing things back in another direction, and that's a nice touch. I'm
thing
pleased.
is mismanagement of your ship. So if you make your ship run too hot, so if you, for example, think you don't need the full power on your coolers, that means that all the other components start to overheat. We have a system in place that basically has the auto shut off of some of the components, but sometimes that might not be enough. So the temperature rises so high that the component itself incinerates, and then you have a fire
So
to
damage,
this systemic approach.
cooler mismanagement.
And then the third type is malfunctions. These are induced by the wear and tear. So the higher the wear and
Malfunction.
tear of the
Nice.
component, the higher the chances is in different stages that they can trigger an ignition.
You've repaired it a few times, but you haven't replaced it.
Correct,
That's
yes.
good.
And in dealing with fire, how do you deal with fire?
So you have the extinguisher that we now place in every ship, which is the active counter to that. The more fire extinguisher point to the same fire, so they're much quicker. That's the most straightforward way. The next way is venting the ship. And for the release, the way that you will be able to do that is by daisy chaining doors. So what you have to do, basically open a door next to the next door, so that you at some point reach a door that leads to the exterior
And vent the atmosphere.
and vent the atmosphere out.
Sounds like when you're
Interesting.
the second player playing Gyromite back in the day. So yeah, repairing with replacement components and fuses if you have interiors, repairing those components and replacing those fuses if they take damage, and then dealing with fires. That's essentially the engineering loop that's on its way in 4 or 5. We've recently been in tech preview testing. How's that been going?
The feedback that we received is helped us a lot, and helped us also to make some points in some of the changes that we have been seeing now between the different tech previews, which is really good because it brings the gameplay to exactly what we want to have, which is extending lifetime of ships and not being an annoyance, a constant annoyance. One thing that had to come with the engineering gameplay is a full rebalance. So a full rebalance of all weapons, of all ship components, of like basically how our character, the ship, functions in the game. I think we are approaching right now a good baseline for the release. So I'm hoping that we get some more testing in, because the longer we have the tech preview running, the more we see what needs still to be updated. So
now, at the time that this airs, because we're recording this rather early in November, we'll be on PTU. We'll be on PTU with full-blown testing for an intended December release, which is really exciting. Ending the year with a new star system wasn't quite enough. We want to end the year with this gameplay system. It's going to fundamentally change every spaceship in the game that we've been talking about for 5 years at this point. As far as every ship, we say it will affect every ship, but not every ship equally at the time of this release. My understanding is there's about 80 ships at the point of 4.5 release that have everything. There's about 30 ships,
as you guys were saying,
in various states of conversion. Some have engineering screens but don't have physicalized components. Some have physicalized components but don't have engineering screens. Through all of it, you'll be able to use engineering in one way or another. Last thing you want to say to folks as they're testing it in PTU now and they see this ahead of its intended release before the end of December.
Yeah, so I definitely need to shout out like the people that have been sticking around with me and with everyone involved in that feature. It's a huge group, but the core people that really deserve a lot of like praise are Guillermo, and Scott. Those are my key personnel that without them we wouldn't be here. So with that out of the way, the feature is made to stay. This is Star Citizen. This is the definition of Star Citizen. This is what we always wanted, and finally we have it.
It's where we've been talking about going for the last 5 years, yeah.
It doesn't mean, though, that what you see right now is set in stone. So we appreciate all the feedback that we receive. We are aware that we don't deliver something that is perfect right away. So we need your help, as always, to point out the things where we can still improve. We are not done yet with engineering gameplay. There are still things that we have on the list. And we are consciously holding back those ideas right now because we think we already gave a lot and we are a bit scared of overwhelming the players a bit. And now we want to observe you playing that and basically figuring out what still needs to be added or even what we need to adjust.
Well, that's Torsten Lyman on engineering, available on PTU right now. If you haven't jumped in and given it a try, do so. And yeah, as we head towards our December release for 4.5.
Oh, and as a coda, since we recorded this, we've also decided to add armor into this release as well. So keep a lookout for the upcoming engineering guide that'll go out with the release of 4.5 to learn more. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all again next year.
How dare they do that to my ship? How very dare... That's made me more angry than the rest of the thing combined. Look, I'm going to go back to the beginning because there's a couple things that we might want to revisit. If you want to, that's fine. Let's find a nice kind of... Should we find a nice screenshot? Something to look at? I mean, that works, right? That'll do. There we go. Okay, so there's a lot been said in chat. I'm going to scroll up and read some of it out. Here we go. So yeah, I remember responding to Tibbs saying about fighters needing a rework, and they've confirmed that. 80 ships were completely there, 30 ships currently in the works. There are around 200 ships now, so they've got a little bit of work to do to catch up, but they acknowledge the fact that it wasn't going to be perfect. And I think, you know, it's CIG. It was never going to be released perfect. That's not how this works. It's not how games in this stage of development work. Hasselbaum says that would give a big disadvantage to any ship with no interior, though, because then you can't repair or manage anything mid-combat. No, and fighters shouldn't be able to. And that's the intent, right, is what they've said is that repair through the MFD is a temporary measure. It's not a permanent one. Maybe EVA isn't the problem. Most of them are impossible to get to everything when planet side. Possibly. It might be that. But that's a design flaw, and that's something that you should look at. For some, that might be a rather reconcept, as the 300 series has no components yet and no space either for them. So yeah, there's a couple of ships that need it, and you know, for those that are completely faked on the interior, I get it. And then the question is, well, those ships become meta because they can repair during combat, whereas others can't. So yeah, I'd never understood what size components can't be removed and swapped like others. They ain't that much bigger. Don't know. You'll be surprised what some players will do, will want to do if they don't have to try and get turrets on target. I mean, yeah. Issue is not the component, rather the size of the ship and the ability on most of those big component ships to move said components in or out of the ship. Yeah, I'm sure they're looking at a couple of them going, crap, we need to determine access for this, and maybe it'll be exterior access with an interior access port. Yep, so you change it out through the exterior of the ship, but you change it, you access it to repair or extinguish it through the interior. That's something that they could look at, I suppose. So yeah. Now, ballistics are a specialty precision weapon and lasers are the generalist choice, basically. Yeah, I mean, lasers, yeah. I mean, lasers are the long-term one, aren't they? They're the one where you don't have to concern about ammo, so you can go out and fight for as long as you need without having to worry about, having to rearm, repair, refuel. In the same way that if you're very conservative with missiles, that you can do that. Yeah, like I say, I don't think it redresses the balance completely between the two, but it goes some way to doing that, especially against multi-crew ships where you know that if you're hitting it with lasers and you're starting fires inside, then people from turrets are then having to reroute and go and deal with that. And, if you've got a ship that's only got enough people in it for the turrets, Perseus is a really good example. Why would you take more than 3 on a Perseus? Because the minute you start a fire, you lose one of your turrets. Whereas if you've got a 4th person on the bridge doing a remote turret, they can jump out and go and do something else. So yeah, it's starting to make sense with that now. Sorry, it's gone quite a way up, guys. So I do apologise. I am catching up with you as much as I can, but I'm not quite at the bottom yet. Jello Drifter, welcoming, mate. Good to see you. There are no fire extinguishers for the Drake Clipper. That's bad news. So, lifetime items who degrade over time and that cannot be repaired. Is that in for this yet? Is that... And when they say cannot be repaired, do they mean by us or do they mean full stop the end? Because if you take it back to a spaceport, maybe there is. Maybe there's a refit option, right, where you can take it out and you hand it back to put it back to 100%. But it's like, it's the difference between doing an oil change on your car, which you're involved in, and then you do it and it's done, versus giving it over to the garage to get it serviced, right, and get it properly looked at, where that might take a lot longer. So I think that's something else that they could look at. And exactly the same with auto loading. Is like, hey, I've got this really rare military component. They're like, yeah, great, but it's going to take 5 days to refit it, refurbish it or whatever. We have CPUs that auto shut down when too hot, but CIG can't make that happen in our ships. So they are making it happen. That's what they said, is you have the shutdown, but sometimes it doesn't, it's not 100% effective. Otherwise, no fires, right? From systems like having an auto shut off. So, there we go. No safety on a Drake ship. That tracks, lol. They could make the accessible from the outside like a fighter. Many ships with size 2 components don't have reasonable access. Yeah, that. I mean, if you look at a golem, right, when people say, why would you take a Hull A versus a golem or I think the conversation was actually a prowler, right? You've got the prowler utility and the golem, and it's like the prowler, the golem takes more cargo, 1 person. It's like, well, you've got to get rid of the cargo because all the component access is blocked by the cargo. Whereas in a prowler utility, you get attacked, you've got up to 5 crew in that thing who can run around and get stuff back online whilst your cargo's on the inside and protected and all that sort of stuff. So you can start to see now with implementations like this, and it's not going to be perfect. People are going to be like, patches, yeah, but it doesn't work. I think venting they've had a problem with during PTU, so venting hasn't necessarily always worked. Like, fine, but you can see that it's starting to come. And as they bring these systems online and work, that's much better. It's absolutely reasonable to say things like components with time wear. It wouldn't be jarring for them to say you can hand it over and get it repaired. It's just going to take a number of hours. And you could take a long old time, right? If they said to me, you've got a really rare military component, you can either have it run itself to destruction or you can hand it over. It will take you 5 days to get it back. Take it. I'll have it back in 5 days. Thanks very much. Please and thank you. And by the way, here's a hefty tip for your services. It's that sort of stuff. So Gameplay concepts are good, but man, right now the requirements of fully power coolers just highlights how poorly balanced power plants are for medium and large ships. I wouldn't expect to ever remove power from coolers on large and mediums and caps. I just wouldn't. Keep them running, because that way then you can bring everything else back online. The downside of that is, while you're running them, the coolers are going to be something you're going to want to carry spares of on board, not just because of the effect of not having them running, but also if you're running them at full power the whole time, they're going to degrade faster than stuff that you can turn down and all that sort of thing. We need component insurance so we can get our military components replaced. We kind of spoke about that already. There are options for them there. Have they components balanced how they want? Hasselbones? No. They said that they're bringing it into balance. I think what they're talking about is from an engineering perspective. What I wouldn't expect from that is for fighters and multi-crews to suddenly magically be in some sort of perfect harmony. I don't think that's what they're going for, and I don't think it's possible in the time frame that they've talked about. It's just not. It's not going to be how things go. There he said it, the patch will drop either way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it will. They're going to need to do a deep pass on power plants, coolers, etc. I think Pugjob, welcome in, by the way. You're responding to Khan's thing there. Some ships will be barely flyable with current resources they have available. Yes, there's some balance to do. And whilst, so my instant reaction to that was, yeah, but you just replace the power plants with different versions that provide more power, but stock can't be that bad. Because that's awful, because you've got to get somewhere with a stock ship to be able to replace the parts to pick them up and put them in, right? Because it's all right for us. All of us in here are going, yeah, I've got other ships that can do that. Yeah. What about the person with one starter ship, or the person that's gone up to one ship and that's all they've got? So again, I think they need to be careful with that. Yeah, so there's that. You'll be able to buy them in the in-game shop. Was that the... Marcus has said that. Was that the fire extinguishers? Sorry, I'm not sure what that's in response to. The question is, can we salvage fire extinguishers for our Drakes? You'll be able to buy them in the in-game shop. Thanks for that, Marcus. That's good that we've had that confirmed. Right now, when you see people going out firefighting in medium ships over just taking multiple single-seaters for an MMO, that's not a good sign. Well, I mean, I'm going to be taking it out. I'm going to be running around in my Perseus, and I can't wait. Although I might be changing the PDCs out for ballistics. Just saying. There we go. Not just armor, but a total overhaul of gunnery. I've heard various things. Jockcop, welcome in, mate. Good to see you. A lot of that 200 is variants. Yes, you're right. There are a lot of variants. 100i, 300i have interior but no components. Agreed. It's not just fighters that have no interior. Yeah, and it's not just, even ships with interior, some of them don't have the component bays yet. Or they have some but not all, etc., etc. So yeah. Time to buy a Legionnaire, says MRP. Very possibly. Hans gets the Flammenwerfer. The plow, yeah, that. Wear and tear, full stop end at the moment, says Deco. Yeah, so hopefully that'll change. I think someone said they wanted the comprehensive overview, and I agree. I think that there's... The problem is with CIG, so much changes or is a partial implementation. So stuff changes over time. Stuff is a partial implementation. So the question is, that wear and tear, is that intended now? Is that how it's going to be? Are they going to change it? What are they going to change it to? Because what they can't do is whinge that they get 300 posts on Spectrum saying wear and tear is a pain in the arse. And they go, well, yeah, obviously we were going to change it. What do you mean, obviously? You guys knew that. We didn't. And it also really doesn't fit into the every show is someone's first show. There are going to be a lot of people who picked up game packs after IEE who were sat there going, what the fuck is happening with engineering? Come on, CIG, you can do better than that. You recorded that in November. You had the time to be more comprehensive. And I think all of us would have appreciated that. Am I right? I don't mean to dunk on them too hard, but that's where we go. It completely changes how you fight if you have ballistics or lasers. Ballistics are only for targeting component nows, and lasers are for shield and hull damage. Yeah, I mean, ballistics are going to be I say hopefully. That's not what I mean. Someone's going to fly Perseus, but ballistics seem to be more intended for the precision. I'm going to stop something, single target, or very few targets. I'm going to go out and stop something or disable something. Whereas, energy-based weapons are more, hey, I've got time, I can react. They're more of a longer patrol thing. That makes sense. It's been miscommunicated by people. You can't repair wear and tear by hand. You can repair at stations. Interesting. Thanks, Jotcop. That's kind of what I was expecting if it wasn't that case already. Or like I said, even if there was a timer involved. I wonder if we'll get a quick fit for ground vehicles later. Possibly. I mean, that quick fit might be called the Ironclad DGP, but yeah, that. What ships you'll be seeing that can barely fly with stock components? I'm not seeing that at all, to be honest. I shall leave that to the people reporting that. Both can be done buying them or stealing them, says Tibbs. Nice. SC Kingdom, welcome in, mate. Good to see you. Hello, Badgers. A German talking about engineering is like a duck to water. Yeah, you can Versprung durch Technik me anytime, mate. There you go. That's Audi's logo. I'm not being rude. Or Audi's motto, sorry. Or it was. That I'm not being rude. I'm not being anything. So there we go. Given some of the times to kills I've seen in videos are so short, both ballistics and lasers work when ships can explode in under a minute. Yeah, and they kind of indicated that. So he says, while we're trying to extend the time to kill. So that's it. So those people that are in, who've been in PTU, does this mean soft death is no longer a thing as a permanent state, and soft death is now a product of having components disabled? Is that what we're saying? Or is soft death still a state? And this is why they need to be comprehensive about it. I think they kind of said that. Let's go. You talked about the 3 damage states, right? So that was the prep. Here's the MFD repair. Let's go
up to the bigger multi-crew ships.
Yes.
The next big change with engineering is a damage to your components.
Let's see what they say.
On the ships with interior, you will have access to the components. By having access to the components, there's the chance for you to repair on-site or repair while they are taking damage. Normally,
that guy's useless.
You would die in the game that is like at 4.4, but with engineering gameplay, you would be able then to point the repair.
So this is the bit that's not 100% explicit, so I'm just going to listen to that again. I'm sorry that I'm making you guys listen to, but it's important I get what they're saying.
To the components, there's the chance for you to repair on-site or repair while they are taking damage. Normally, you would die in the game that is like at 4.4, but with engineering gameplay, you would be able then to point the repair gun at the component, bring it back from 0 health to full health, so you get your power plant back. Or you extinguish the fire, repair afterwards, and then you're ready to go. And that.
So that to me says no soft death. Can anyone from PTU confirm? Welcome in Malemba to Pilgrim to Malbino. Good to see you guys. Sorry, we're just we've listened through to it once. We're just kind of this is the bit that I wanted to pick up on, is whether or not this means soft death or not. So yeah, seems like we're going back to the old days where ships just blow up instead of immediately get a countdown about your power plant failing and shit just pops. Hopefully not intended or bugged. Yeah, so I think the question is with the explodey shit, right? Is correct, no soft growth, says Pilgrim. That's kind of cool. You can target the power plant, 0 HP, power plants explode. See, I never thought about this. So soft death, they did say when soft death came out that it was a temporary state, right? Until we had components and engineering and the resource network. So they were always going to go this way. The question is, like we said, at the moment it was quite clearly demarked that you are now soft deathed. So what happened, what then happens? You don't want a universe where nothing explodes, right? Because everybody loves explosions. We just don't like being in them when they happen. I was going to say part of them. I love being part of it with size 9 torps. When I'm the one firing them, I hate being a part of it when I'm the one catching them with my face. So, and it's a bit, the surface area, the radar cross section is immense, right? But you get the point, right? You want a universe where everything explodes, exactly. I guess the problem we had with soft death was it was very clear. I am now soft deathed. I am now no longer worried about flying my ship, or I need to get out before this thing blows up, right? And that was a very clear, like, you need to get out. For fighters, it was assigned to eject, you know, all that sort of stuff. The problem with it is that now that it's soft deathed, if you're flying, it's now not clear. It's like, okay, why am I shut down? Is stuff overheated? Is it? I mean, it's not the relays anymore, which is an interesting change in and of itself, and we'll come on to that in a second, because I think that might take away a little bit from engineering, potentially. The fact that they're in areas too easy to access, that's a them problem, that's not an us problem. So move the relays, or make them lockable. So just like the door to your ship, they are party only. So if someone wants to break into them, they need to cause damage. And by causing damage, they make noise and alert people. So there we go. Hey, bud. Hey, Artemis. I hope you're hyped for the Game Awards. Half-Life 3 could be. Jesus Christ, that would be a... And then same release date as Squadron 42, right? But that's interesting. Half-Life 3. Holy shit, I'd play that crap out of that. So there we go. Seems like we're back to the old days where ships just blow up. So yeah, so we don't want that. We want some sort of warning. And even then, maybe there is a... You know, even as Khan says, you target the power plant on 0 health. There should be a countdown, right? I still think that. I think there should be an immediate, you know, even fighters should get it, the chance to eject, because that just adds more gameplay. And I think they're going to need to do something like that with Death of a Spaceman. The unalerted, you had no idea it was coming death. It's the same problem we have with snipers and glint. It's the you need to give people, when there is such a drawback to dying, you need to let people know that they're close to it. And I think power plants like that, yes, but it should be a trigger. There should be you know, even irreparable damage. So at that point, there's nothing you can do now. Reward the person that was able to damage and knock you down past 0 health on your power plant. But there should be some sort of warning to give people the chance to get away, which solves the, we had soft death, I knew when to get out, now I don't. Maybe. I don't know, you guys might be like, that's an awful idea, but just stop it. But I'm hoping we get something like that. The reason the Clipper is such a good ship is you'll be able to rescue and repair because it'll repair body of small components, yeah. So they absolutely said you'll be able to make size 1 components and stuff in it, which makes the Clipper quite effective. And hopefully does a little bit to offset the fact that it's not that punchy and it's not that tanky. So there we go. Hope you're well. Osmus, good to see you too, mate. And yes, I am, thank you. Even better buoyed out that there might be a Half-Life 3. If not, I'll make you responsible, so there. Just kidding, buddy. You have another base... sorry, what's that? You have another base that is out of balance. Sorry, Marcus, I'm not sure what that is. Can you clarify, bud? Warning, reactor failure, 45 seconds. Yeah, it depends on the size of the ship, right? If you're talking something like a Hull A, why would that take 45 seconds? But if you're talking about something like the Idris, there are places on that ship you'd be very lucky to get out in 45 seconds. So, you know, I think you got to give people the warning, and if they don't get out straight away, then yes. There you go. There is a countdown from what I've seen on PTU videos. Oh, that's great. Well, I mean, thank God for that. There we go. I've been talking about that so long, and it turns out it already exists. Ta-da! See, told you. That was all me. That was all me, guys. You're welcome. I'm sorry. Yeah, poor old Torsten. I've not got him on the nicest light.
Now.
So there's that. There we go. That's a nice. Also, Jared's kind of like mustache there. I'm not sure what he's going for, but we have had some crazy stuff with Jared over the last few years. Is it midlife crisis, do you think? Is he a bit late to the party on that one? So there we go. After unplugging the power plant, the cooldown stops, says Pilgrim. Interesting. So you remove power to it. It stops the explosion? Really? The best part of these changes is that now light fighters can't beat large ships, so SC is now officially pay to win. I mean, I don't think that's the case. I still, this doesn't solve the key problems with light fighters, which is turrets track like crap, are really hard to get on. There are certain maneuvers you can do that just makes it almost impossible for turrets to land a couple of solid hits on you, or near as damn it. You know, and also, if fighters die to big ships, I can't bring myself to cry. As someone who owns some fighters, just don't take on the big ships. It's that simple. You know, the one X-wing against the Star Destroyer sounds like a really bad idea. So don't do it. There's that, right? X-wings against TIE fighters, all over it. X-wings against Star Destroyer, maybe not. So there we go. You get klaxons and voice alert. That's cool. Playing 4.5 now, it's a damn pain. Oh, that's a shame. Hopefully it's a little better. Chat is too fast for me. Sorry, mate. You're all good. You're all good. So yeah, it's too fast for me too. I'm trying to keep up. I can't catch up to the chat. Beard gotta come back, says SC Kingdom. That's for Jared, obviously. My beard just hasn't grown out properly yet, and this is years down the line. So yeah, my bad. This is as good as you're getting. Sorry. Badges with a full bushy beard? Not so much. Can I be that guy real quick? Okay, I'm going to be that guy real quick. If you don't want to deal with engineering, then don't do combat easy. I mean, that... Half-Life 3 is coming with Valve's new hardware. That will be really cool if that's confirmed. Turret should perform way better versus fighter now that weapon range is also short. He's hoping. He is hoping. Although... I mean, can go into it in much more detail, but part of the issue is cross-section and the way their predictive algorithms work, i.e. where the dot is that you aim for in the turret to try and hit the target. But there we go. And they kind of proved it they said with one of the ships, I think during the ship talk, that one of them is not aligned properly. But that's where we go. The issue they're having is the engine back end couldn't actually handle the gunnery and ship speeds. So that's part of it, absolutely. There's a separate area as well. It's like so many things in Star Citizen. It's not down to one particular component, but you know, I mentioned that one because this categorically doesn't address that. So if your predictive algorithm is wrong, it's going to be wrong at any range because that's how algorithms work. You know, or imperfect, it means that even when you look like you're on target, you're not actually hitting anything, and that can happen at close range, which is frustrating. But there we go. Yeah, so size 3 components need to be repaired or replaced at station. 1 or 2 can be manually replaced in flight. A lot of fighters have the same size guns as a lot of medium and large multi-crews, though. They do, and that's hopefully then offset by armor and all that sort of stuff. And I'm glad they mentioned that at the end, because we got there and I was like, you're not going to mention that once? That's major. But apparently we have some form of armor. As they said that, I don't know if you saw parts of the Perseus started flying off. So maybe this is the first implementation of Maelstrom. We'll find out. But yeah, we'll see. And again, I will try and go live for that. It looks like now I'm going to have free time, certainly up till about the 19th of December. 19th, not the 19th, the 12th. The 12th of December, that's what I meant to say. So yeah, there we go. Why should a one-seater light fighter beat a fully crewed Paladin? I mean, as long as it's not a skill issue. That. Imbalance I mentioned is ejection seats versus interior ship. Seems balanced. Yeah, so... Yes. So if they get to the point where fighters and that sort of stuff are seriously weak to multi-crew ships, then yes, you will have that problem where light fighters then have a real problem because to get out and stuff, you need to stop the ship. So the ejection seats, I don't have a problem with them having it in the larger ships, not. That's the whole point of escape pods and stuff like that. So, you look at the Idris and some of the distances you've got to make there. You look at the Perseus or the Polaris and some of the distances that you have to make in certain areas. You're the forward gunner, you've got a little way to go, especially if the cargo area is full, because you might not just be able to vault down into the cargo area and then jump out a docking collar, and you're waiting for that to open, and if the power's off, that might not work. And, so they're having the escape pods immediately behind the torpedo area. Perfect. That's exactly what it needs. But again, there is a little bit of movement. There's a risk posed to you by fires caused in those spaces. And God only knows if they're going to add some mechanic later on of fires causing munitions to cook off, because a fire in that torpedo room would be terrifying. So yeah, there we go. Oh no, you're all good, Asher. No worries at all. It's nice to have that sort of stuff confirmed though. So there we go. If you can't solo a paladin and a light fighter, that's a skill issue on the fighter's part. For now, hopefully that gets corrected. You can get a Polaris and Idris from Wicklow with a special loadout as well, so no, not pay to win. I mean, the whole pay to win thing, right, is the pay to win is when it's the only way to get there. So, at the moment in Alpha, funding it through that, yes. When the game's actually released, no. It's the shortest way to have that conversation. Every crewmate needs to be able to do damage control. Exactly that. Wicklow got to go remove it. No, I mean, I think what they're doing at the moment is Wicklow's obviously not going to be the way that you get your Polaris and stuff in future. What they are doing is they're introducing the concept to us of you've got to go and do something that doesn't involve just earning money and going to a normal trader. There's a little bit of risk involved. You've got to carry the goods there. You've got to go there and get the mission first, or know what it is you've got to do. You've got to get there, find out what it is that particular individual wants in order to do it. And this kind of is before the rep gating stuff kicks in and all that sort of nonsense. So there we go. So yeah. I don't buy that definition, that's cope, to be honest. So what is it that you can buy that you can't earn in-game? Or was that not aimed at me? But it's a good question, right? Go play a single player game is not taking crew count into balance as how you kill an MMO. Kind of. So you can earn it in game. So what is it that you can buy right now that you can't earn? Right? Or more to the point, what is it that you can buy in game that you won't be able to earn at 1.0? It's pay to skip grind, that. That's what it is. Yeah, you're paying to skip grind. And unfortunately, the way that the game is going at the moment and what it's intending to do, I don't ever see that going away. The pay to skip grind stuff exists pretty much in most places. You look at IS, you look at Plex for Eve, you look at like the game token for WoW. Anything with in-game currency and in-game purchases that has that sort of stuff, right? Even its experience gains, its character boosts, it's all that sort of stuff. What you're buying with in-game currency, what you're getting with your card, and actually, like they've pointed out, when you craft components which won't be bought, you'll get better than you'll get on what you've paid for. So, there's that. Some people complain about pay to win, also complain about cheap ships beating expensive ships. I mean, That. Pretty much every game that has a grind 90% of the time, there'll be a way to skip it. Exactly that. So yeah. And this is, I go back to this all the time, right? Because this is the thing with MMOs versus anything else. If you have a graph, you'll have two lines. One will look like that and one will look like that. It will be an X, okay? And across the side, you have available money. And then across the bottom, you have available time, right? And basically, you have an inverse relationship. The more money you have, the less time you have, generally speaking, because you're out earning it. And of course, this doesn't apply to everyone, right? You go win the lottery, sure. Like, you've got as much time as you want and you've got as much money as you want. But generally speaking, for most people, you have the more money you are earning, the less time you have to do other things. And then, you hit that point of retirement and that's great. But so there's that. The question is then, how do you balance that? And WoW did this with game tokens. So they looked at it and went, so for example, I was a really good example of this. I'd go on deployment for 6.5 months. I would come back. My guild would be 6.5 months further down the line. My gear wouldn't be good enough to join them in a raid, for example, versus other people who wanted that slot. It wasn't even a, hey, look, we'll randomize it and we'll do a roll and whoever gets it this time, the other person can do it next time. What I did have when I came back off deployment was an abundance of cash, because you can't spend it at sea, right? Amazon do not deliver the warships, upsettingly. So what you would have is, you'd have, I'd come back and I'd be like, hey, I've got loads of money. I'll sling a couple of £100 at gold sellers. I'll get the gold back. I'll go and buy all the stuff that I need in game. And that's the problem, is it's not that I'm not willing to put in the time. It's that I don't have the time, but I have an abundance of cash. And MMOs who don't monetize that struggle, or at least don't do anywhere near as well as they could do. So there needs to be some sort of way to monetize that and keep that doing. And then that way, the other side of it, the people who, what's the word that I'm looking for? The people who have all the time in the world to play, but very little money, they can just earn the gold that they need for the game time with a WoW game token, because they pay for it with gold. So it's one or the other there. But anyway, we're going very far into the pay to win thing, and frankly, it's just, we don't even know what it's going to be like at the end. If they go subscription, they can stop selling ships. If they go subscription, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here. So yeah, so there you go. Keep it respectful, guys. Keep it respectful. I want my pony plushie. Amazon, sorry, operational security won't let it post it to you. Well, it's the amount of mail that goes missing, because it ends up getting left on a jetty somewhere waiting for you to come, turn up. And obviously it's a secure, it's kind of a secure location, because it's where the warship's going to rock up. But still, that doesn't stop stuff going missing. Stuff gets lost in transit. So yeah, you've got to be a little bit careful. Monster, welcome in. Good to see you. Knowing CIG, they'll change their minds every time in the future. Absolutely. We reserve the right to have a better idea. Depends on your definition of better, but yes. So there we go. So yeah. Yeah, so that's where we are at the minute. Engineering, I'm excited to get my hands on it. I haven't tried PTU. I know some people in PTU are saying it's really annoying and all that sort of stuff. If you're in single seaters, it seems like most of the solution is just go to an MFD, hit repair, it'll tell you how long it takes, and that's it done. In other places, obviously, it's going to be a little bit more advanced. Seems like there's 3 ways of getting damage. There's heat management, there's malfunctions and that sort of stuff, and there's taking damage. So that works. That's a fairly reasonable way of doing stuff. So heat management / wear and tear, right? So yeah, that's I think that's a fairly interesting kind of addition. I like the fact that they've stated that what they're trying to do is increase time to kill. That's a good move. So yeah. Yeah, lots in there that I kind of I've got time for. I mean, do people want to see that again? Are you guys pretty happy with what you've seen? I know a couple of people have come in late, but I could press just play from here and go from here. It's interesting because people are saying completely the opposite to each other. Light fighters need to do damage to bigger ships too. The question is how much damage they should deal. It should be somewhere around a point that multiple light fighters can, but one alone has a set to do. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the point of like, it doesn't matter how many 9mm pistols you get, you can't damage a tank, right? Unless you get inside and start shooting it from the exterior. You know, no amount of 5.56 rifles should be able to damage a tank. That's just not the way they're designed. You might be able to damage a couple of bits on it, like smoke launchers, lights, you know, maybe even cause some wear and tear to the tracks. But even then, you know, if it's moving and responding and is active the way it should be, should you be able to hurt it like that? I don't know that that's true. And all right, they're firing stuff a little bit bigger than 9mm, but still, you know, you've got stuff like, you know, there's some vehicle weapons that won't hurt main battle tanks. Although I keep seeing in my head that image of the Abrams just absolutely, you know, putting 20mm into the main battle tank and it kills the turret traverse. So the crew bail, you just see it and it's just absolutely railing. I'll see if I can find that video. It's a very cool video. I don't know if it'll be on YouTube though, because YouTube will get all upset about it. But yeah, it was a Ukrainian crew that just absolutely... It was Bradley's. Sorry, not the Abrams. It was the Bradleys. So this is very cool. Give me a second. I'm gonna mute this and then I'm gonna load it up. So this is a news. The mute thing didn't work. But yeah, this is a Bradley's APC killing a main battle tank. And what it's doing is, I don't know if you can see it there, it's hitting it in the turret ring. So it's hitting it in the gap between the turret and the hull. So it's basically disabling it. So it runs right up on it and then just starts railing it. So then the turret can't traverse. I'll tell you what, the guys in that have got a headache. The guys in that have got a headache. I can guarantee it. I only get in trouble for showing this, but so what? There you go. And something's just cooked off there. But of course, they will have been trained in doing that, and that's... So that sort of stuff, can you damage ships through that? 100%. Right? That sort of stuff. But that should be knowing where to hit. The problem then is... how obvious do you make that through the aiming system? I mean, did you see how close they were? If that T90 put one shot into that Bradley, it's dead. Right? Even if it doesn't explode, it'll still be a complete system kill. It'll just destroy it. They'll have to be extremely unlucky with a ricochet. And it's that sort of stuff, right? Because the idea of getting 20mm rounds into that tiny gap, if you're doing that at anything other than knife fight distance, you're just not going to land those shots. So again, that, you know, it was because it was able to sneak up behind it, and then it would do everything it could to stay out of its arcs, right? When you're talking about big ships that are covered in it, you're going to have to disable it to get in that close, and that's where the combined arms of many fighters would work against big ships. And this is precisely the sort of thing that engineering is building us up towards. So that's kind of... Hello, Luna. Good to see you. Welcome in. And to anyone else that I've missed. But yes, we're just talking engineering stuff. We watched the video, and we're just having a look at where we go for there. So yeah. Now I want to watch Fury, says Hustle. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Hustle, best job I ever had. I've been waiting my entire life. I've been wearing that t-shirt for weeks, waiting for that to happen. Thank you, mate. So yeah, so absolutely. I don't think they should be. I don't think they should be completely useless. They should be able to damage turrets. They should be able to knock out PDCs. They should be able to, potentially jam ramps, and like with a Bengal with its opening and closing section, the doors to the Kraken. They should absolutely be able to do stuff like that. Should they be able to penetrate the hull and go through into the power plant? I don't think so. I just don't think that's what they should be able to do. I recognise that I'm probably wrong on that front, and that CIG will allow us to do that if the armor is suitably weak enough, and that's okay if that's what they're going for. I just don't think, it's like anything, right? You don't kill. You look at things like Midway; they weren't killing the big carriers with the machine guns. They were dropping 500-pound bombs through the weakest part, which was the flight deck. That's how they killed them. It wasn't killed with guns. So things like the Gladiator, torpedoes on that, that should be much more effective than, and that should be the threat. And big ships should be going, there are torpedo bombers mixed in, target the bombers. And then they do that, target the Eclipse, target the Retaliator. That should be the sort of thing that, a big combat ship's turrets are coordinating about. Especially things like the Idris, where you've got so many turrets, you've got port and starboard batteries, all that sort of stuff. So armor doesn't stop shops, it's just a percentage damage reduction still. Yeah, exactly, but talking about where they're going. Maybe they want fighters to fight fighters, or maybe they want fighters to fight turrets. Yeah, and why not both, right? As your fighters, you screen against enemy bombers, you screen against enemy dropships, and like things like the Legionnaire will be a very high priority for fighters, because the last thing you need is them kicking around. If you start to lose the fight and you start getting ships disabled, you don't want the Legionnaires to take advantage of that. Things like the Eclipses, the Retaliators, you'll want to target those, You even hear it in the Squadron 42. That's what they're going for, yeah? Henry Cavill turns around and goes, screen up those fighters, as in block them up with your own to allow them to go through. And that's what the offensive side is going to be doing. So there's loads of stuff like that. And then, of course, once you stop doing that, a bunch of fighters launching their missiles in should be a worry for ships. That amount of ordnance coming at you should absolutely be a concern. So they should be able to contribute to that, absolutely. Use them to knock out, exactly as they did in Squadron 42, the generator on the outside because it's located on the upper hull, because, of course, the Kingship wouldn't be a Kingship without its exhaust port, right? That sort of stuff, yeah. I would make a lot of money designing villain ships for films, because you just hide the weak points. But there we go. So exactly that. Yeah, Maelstrom placeholder. So I hope when Maelstrom comes in again, this is going to be another level of adding things. Armor was never going to be a silver bullet. Armor was never going to be the fix. Sorry, neither was engineering. They have to work together. Along with a bunch of other stuff. And then even then, there are going to be ships that really suffer. There's going to be things that really suffer because they also need to be able to, incorporate things like the balance of weapon systems and improve the armor of some ships, and then change where the armor is located on the vessel. Because when you do get to a complex armor system, there are so many balancing variables. It's not going to be quick. Just bear with it, and I guess have faith in the process, and because otherwise, what are we doing here if we don't have faith that they will gradually get these things right? I don't know what we're doing. So yeah, that's where I'm going to be with it. The other thing I will say is they said that they're going to watch and they're going to listen to us as to what we play. All I will say is what I always say when anything's happening on Spectrum: first, don't. Spectrum's a wretched hive of scum and villainy. But if you're going to go on there and feed back to them, just watch the way that you do it, right? Like here, it's always been important to me that we build, we by all means disagree, by all means don't agree with each other, by all means, have completely different views and whatever else. What we do is we keep it respectful. And what we do is we keep away from assuming the worst about the other person, or assuming either ignorance, malice, that sort of stuff. We just disagree about stuff, and that's fine. Take that onto Spectrum and do your level best to ignore the idiots, because there will be idiots, there always are. But do your best to ignore them. And provide that, because CIG, of course, there's a higher chance that they're going to listen to and read and be receptive to the, hey guys, here's a couple of things that I've noticed, here's what I really like that you guys have done, here's some things that I don't like, this is what I observed, this is what I think it's down to, over to you sort of things, as opposed to, oh my god, you fucked it up again. Because why would you listen to that? Even if you have a point, why would you listen to it? We wouldn't. If people come up to us and talk to like that in the street, you'd just be like, I don't care what you're saying, the way you're talking to me. You're talking to me like I'm a prat. Don't. And it's the same with them, right? So there we go. Malbinos. Anyone need a kidney? Malbino's selling one in chat. There we go. Monster. Hey, bud. I'm surprised the one who rides the night hasn't banned the most people on Spectrum. Right? Most of the people on Spectrum. Exactly that. The nice thing with this new armor system is now they can't change a few text fields, and bam, heavy fighters are meta. Yeah, I mean, that's what we want, right? Is we want to avoid jumping from one meta to the other. We want people to have choices, and I cannot wait for the day where people are bitching about not having a meta choice, and they're saying, in these scenarios I'm doing really well, but in these scenarios I'm doing crap. Can't wait. That's going to be absolutely perfect. As and when that occurs, that's just going to be the shit, right? And that's absolutely needs what happens. So yeah, there is a saying, "Don't fight a stupid person." Yeah, so it's the never play chess with a pigeon, right? Never play chess with a pigeon. They'll stomp around the board, knock everything over, shit all over it, and then fly away like they won. And I also like yours. They drag you down to that level to beat you with experience. But yes, I like the pigeon. So there we go. No, you don't. At least not to me. Sorry, I'm not sure what that's in response to. But there we go. Yeah, I wish more people would just talk on the internet like they do in real life. Here's hoping, right? There we go. CIG needs to sort out their moderation of their hive of scum and villainy, if it's our only option to feedback. I think what you do is, Spectrum is your way of talking to the devs, right? This is like a debate. When you come up against a debate opponent, you're never going to change their mind, right? If they've even remotely thought through their position, you're not going to change their mind. We all like to think that we change in the face of evidence. That rarely happens, right? It's just the reality. What does happen is you are now debating for everyone that's listening and saying nothing, right? So if you're like, hey, dude, look, I get it, you're angry about something, but, I'm not the person to answer you. You win over everyone else because they go, yeah, you're right. That dude is really angry, and like some random poster on Spectrum is not the person who should be, is not the person responsible for it. So why are you taking it out on them? Just literally, I would recommend not responding to it at all. I put posts up and then I don't respond. I check back to see if CIG have responded, which, by the way, CIG, you never have. But there's that, and you're right. I mean, I get annoyed by it, so I just don't post. But I don't respond to them because and I can tell you how gentle I am on Spectrum. I've never been banned. That's not an invitation, CIG. So there we go. There we go. It is awful. It is awful. What Spectrum is the silent minority. Sorry, the vocal minority. The silent majority just don't bother. And part of it is that people don't complain about stuff that, people don't post about stuff they're generally content with or that doesn't bother them. they go to the forums and bitch when it's something that does bother them. So all you see in Spectrum is people whinging. You don't see the nice stuff. You don't see the, I'm really happy with this. You know, and even when you do, people will just go, someone being positive. And it's literally the stop having fun meme. That's exactly what it is. So yeah, leave them be. Squeaky wheel gets the oil. Exactly that. Exactly that. So there we are. So that's engineering. We'll look at how that goes. Now, so I want to talk to you a little bit about the plans for December. For those that aren't aware, there are a couple of things going on in my personal life at the minute. So the live streams have been great because it takes a couple of hours and that's that. The things like the videos that take a lot of editing and stuff, I'm working on them, but the progress is exceptionally slow even for me because of other things that are going on. So I will get videos out as and when I'm able, but they might be a bit slow and forthcoming for the time being. That's why the Perseus fixed my fleet. Fleet Builder fixed my fleet. Oh my god, I just said it. The Perseus Fleet Builder hasn't gone up yet, and the ready for inspection will probably come at some point in the new year. From the 19th, I'm going to be visiting family in the West Country for a couple of weeks. Probably won't take my PC with me, and if I do, even then, I'll only be on it for short periods, because the whole point of visiting family is to visit with family, right? Not go down there and then lock myself away in a room. So that's the plan for the rest of the year. I am hoping that when they do the talk about armor and everything else, that I'll live stream as well, and certainly up to the 12th. If anything really interesting happens, I'll go live just as I am doing now. That being said, this coming Sunday, the Sunday streams will resume for the remainder of the year outside of the dates that I talked about. So 9 p.m. UK time, Sunday, for a couple of hours, I'll go live here, host all your questions, see you. Obviously, slightly different time now, but I hope to see you guys there when I manage to go live. So that, unless there are any other pressing issues, questions, that sort of stuff in chat, not just keep me streaming, I see you lot. I think we're going to call it there for this evening. Engineering. Increasing time to kill, that's good news. Hopefully, like they say, it doesn't become something we have to deal with all the time. I would just expect for it to be a little bit more prevalent than normal, because then people get to experience it. There we go. Give this guy a like, goes in and got 22. Well, very kind. Thank you, Marbino. That's awesome. After being banned online for gaming as an adult, yeah. Being Stark Aaron's, exactly that. Exactly that. So, there we go. Thank you very much, guys. It's good to see you all. You've been watching Jink is the Gaming Problems. One day I'm going to get that right. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.